We are running out of superlatives to describe the play of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And even though the Blue Jays are out of the playoff race and it's been a miserable season, he has looked like his 2021 self. And that 2021 version of Vlad finished second in MVP voting, only to Shohei Ohtani, who had one of the most historic seasons we had ever seen. So he's getting back to that form, and he's going to get paid in free agency. But is it going to be by the Blue Jays? We'll break that down and much more in this episode of 3 Up, 3 Down.
Cubs win the World Series, where fantasy becomes reality.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into 3 Up, 3 Down. I'm your host, Peter Vryonis. Today we're going to be talking about Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who was just named Player of the Week in the American League. And this is it right here. He was 15 for 28 with 10 extra base hits and an OPS of 1.7, north of 1.7. And shout out to Blake Snell as well, who won the Player of the Week in the National League, who threw a no-hitter last week. So it was great to see that. Two very great performances. And Blake Snell, I'm glad to see that he's starting to turn the corner, even though he started off the season pretty roughly with the San Francisco Giants. But this video is going to be focused on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and just his dominance at the plate. And his season numbers are starting to look really nice. His OPS is close to 950 after a dreadful start to his season. And just to show you how well he's actually been playing as of late, look at those. The last 82 games dating back to April, 354 average, 415 on base, 608 slug, an OPS over 1, and just 48 strikeouts. So he's putting the ball in play. But a big concern with Vladdy was never that he was striking out too much or that he wasn't making contact. It's that he was making too much contact on pitches that were not in his happy zone. And he's starting to be a lot more patient. He's waiting for his pitch. And when his pitch comes, he's finally doing damage, which is something that just with the eye test, with the naked eye, we haven't really seen from him in the past couple of seasons. He's struggled when he has gotten his pitch. He hadn't slugged a home run off a fastball in over a year, and which was an insane number for Vladdy, by the way. He has fantastic bat speed, and he should be getting around on the fastball. It looked like it was a team-wide philosophy. A lot of guys were struggling to hit the fastball. They weren't geared up for it, and whether that was Don Mattingly, whether that was the hitting staff in general who were instructing that way of hitting, I just don't think that was ever the answer. I know we see a lot of great breaking stuff, but you always got to be ready for the fastball. Especially with guys throwing 97 plus miles an hour, you got to get geared up for the heater. And then if it doesn't come, that's when you react to the slider and to all that nasty stuff that you're going to see every at bat. But Vladdy was not geared up for the heater, and he's really turned that around as of late. He's hit the majority of his home runs in this past 30-game stretch that the Blue Jays have played, and he's really turned his season around. I didn't know if he could get back to his 2021 self, but he definitely has. And you could just see over his last 16 games, he's got 9 home runs, 18 RBIs, he's hitting over 500, and he's scored 20 runs as well. So it just shows you the sheer ability that he has. No one ever doubted the talent with Vladdy because we know that it's there. The bat speed is generational. He was touted as this generational prospect, and he came into the league with a lot of hype. He had a okay first couple of years in the big leagues, and then he exploded onto the scene in 2021 as a 22-year-old, and he hasn't really gotten back to that level since. The year after that, it was considered a down season for him, but he still had over 30 home runs, and he still had an OPS over 800. So I guess you had to take that with a grain of salt, because a down year for him is a fantastic year for a lot of other players around baseball. But that's what happens when you set such a high standard for yourself when you first enter the league. There was a lot of hype around him. He was supposed to be who he is right now, and I'm glad that he's living up to the hype now. He's still only 25 years old. I think he's got a lot more of these seasons left in him. Will he ever get back to an OPS over 1? Maybe. But I think this is closer to the player that we're going to see, and I think Blue Jay fans should be okay with that. Which is a 900 OPS, and he's over that number right now, and maybe he can get to 1,000 if he continues this tear until the end of the year. But I think a 900 OPS And 30 to 35 home runs are fantastic numbers for Vladdy because he does a lot of things very well at the plate. He draws walks, he hits the ball hard, and he drives in runs, which is something that's a hot commodity around Major League Baseball right now. So I've been very impressed with his play. And my big question to the Blue Jays front office is he going to stick around? Are they doing everything that they can to keep him in Toronto past next season when he will be a free agent? Now, I would personally, and I don't think the contract is going to be that big. I do believe that he'll get upwards of $200, maybe $250 million, but I don't see it approaching $300. You just don't see first basemen get paid that exorbitant amount of money. Now, the players that have been getting paid $300+ million are outfielders, they're shortstops, they're third basemen, they're not first basemen. So I think his value is sort of diminished in the fact that he plays first base, and I do expect the Blue Jays to be able to get a deal done. Don't get me wrong, it'll be the largest deal in Blue Jays franchise history, and as it should be. This guy sells jerseys for you, he puts butts in seats, and he allows your team to be one of the more marketable ones around Major League Baseball. That's the kind of impact that Vladdy has on a franchise. Now, the most important thing is keeping him in town, keeping him happy, and making sure that he sustains this level of production. I expect a complete overhaul this offseason by the Blue Jays, whether it's the coaching staff, whether it's the players on the roster. I do expect a ton of changes to be made, and I would like to see some changes made in the front office as well, but I don't think that's necessarily feasible or going to happen because we all know the situation there and what's been going on with the Blue Jays front office. So there's a lot of things that need to be improved and a lot of changes need to be made. But I think Vladdy is the one constant that needs to remain in this lineup. And if I'm Ross Atkins, if I'm Mark Shapiro, I'm going through leaps and bounds to get this deal done because my worst nightmare would be allowing him to hit free agency and he's not signed to a contract yet. That would be a total disaster for the Blue Jays because that's when the Yankees come knocking. That's when teams like the Dodgers and the Astros and big-time money seekers, big-time players are entering the conversation, and you just may not have enough to get a deal over the finish line. So you have the advantage. You have Vladdy in-house until he hits free agency, and I think the Blue Jays need to take severe advantage of that because they may be overmatched once they do reach free agency with Vladdy and other teams are allowed to negotiate with him. But that'll wrap it up for this episode of 3 Up, 3 Down. Thank you guys so much for making it this far. And I really appreciate the support that we've gotten on recent videos. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well, and give me your thoughts on what you think a contract might look like for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. if he were to stay in Toronto or go anywhere else. Let me know in the comments down below. But that'll wrap it up. Check out Baseball Town as well. They're your one-stop shop for everything that you need baseball or softball related, whether it's bats, gloves, batting gloves, or cleats. They got you covered. The best equipment at the most competitive prices. Check them out today. 3 physical locations, 1 in Ottawa, 2 in Quebec. And if you're not close to there, check out the website. We ship worldwide. Baseballtown.ca for everything that you need to get geared up for the season. But that'll wrap it up, and I'll see you tomorrow.